Welcome to Forest Chat, where we talk about individual endeavour in Western Australia, what it takes, what it means, and how you do it. I'm your host, Paul Vandermeer, and in today's episode, I'm talking with Natalie Mullen about underwater photography. Natalie started taking underwater photos around 2017, took quite a bit to get into it, and has taken some absolutely amazing photos. Welcome to Forest Chat, Natalie.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to just talk about it, really. And yeah, I will go off on little tangents, so make sure you keep me on task.
Well, we have the 3 or 4 questions really that I ask,
Mm,
and
yeah.
as long as you're sort of in the scope of that, we're good to go.
Okay. Sounds good.
So the first thing I ask is underwater photography. What on earth is that?
It's a world that I think a lot of people don't experience. And I think that that's what kind of prompted me to look at this as a hobby, I suppose, because it's a world that many people don't experience, and I wanted to capture the moments that I experience underwater, the way fish live, their ecosystems, the just the feeling that you have underwater is something that not a lot of people, will get to see. So that was something that I was like, I want to capture this moment for me to remember it, and also for others to see what happens under the water. And I think also what goes hand in hand with all of that was one of the other things that led me to diving was not necessarily seeing the water. I was really concerned about the state of our water and the fact that our corals are dying, and I thought I better do it now before there's nothing left to see.
How
And I
did it
think
come that you got into diving in the first place?
diving, yeah, so one of the things that I wanted to see was a mandarin fish, and a mandarin fish are just the most colorful little fish that you ever would see. I saw it in an aquarium, and I was like, I need to see this fish. I was just so, yeah, besotted with the colors of this fish, and every single fish is completely different as well. And my partner at the time said, well, if you want to see one of those fish, you probably will have to learn how to dive. And that in itself was pretty daunting, because I knew some of the skills that had to go into it, and I did have a go and I did struggle with it. So it took me a full year to actually become a diver. A lot of mindset shifts that I had to do in myself as well, around I can't do this, I'm no good, lots of those things that I had to really work through to actually give it another go. And so then I went and did my diving course for the second time, and I actually passed. So it was a massive accomplishment for me. And I was really, really proud of myself. And then that meant that this world of an ocean was suddenly open to me. And then I went on diving trips, and I went to the Philippines and I saw a mandarin fish. So it was a full circle moment for me. So that's kind of how I got into it, and kind of the lead up and the journey in it. And I guess that's why I wanted to capture as much as I could when I was diving, because of my own struggles in diving. It was like always this wonderland, like, oh my gosh, I'm here, I'm under the water, this is what I get to see. And so that's why I did it. Yeah. And then you get addicted to it, right? Because you take a photo, you're like, oh, that didn't quite work. Now I have to go back and I'll have to take the same photo but change a few of the conditions, or try this angle, or come at it this way, or add some lights, or change my focus, or yeah, how much light I'm letting in, all of that, to try and get the best photo that has, the clarity and the depth that you want as well. So yeah, it led me down a very long journey of that. Yeah.
With great results too.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. I mean, I said this to you before, I'm an amateur. There are much better photographers out there, and the gear that they use is probably far more expensive too. But I've gone for just a very simple setup for an underwater camera, and it works for me, and I enjoy it. And sometimes I think, when you overcomplicate your equipment, that in itself can be quite frustrating. But that is for other people as well. So sometimes you do a lot of comparison and you look at, oh, they're so much better than mine. But for me, I love what I take, and I think so do other people. And I think that's probably the main thing, right? It's the joy, it's the hobby, not always the end result. So yeah,
Of course, comparison is the thief of joy.
I know. I know.
And it's very
Yeah.
hard to not do it sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll feel a bit jealous, right? Because obviously the photos that I take are of beautiful marine creatures, creatures that I want to see and haven't seen to some extent. Like I've seen a lot, but then you see someone's taken a photo of, a mantonay, for example, and I still haven't seen one of those, or a sunfish. I tried very hard to get a sunfish up in Bali, but couldn't get it. They didn't appear. They didn't show up when I wanted them to. So that's the other
Get
thing.
good talent.
Yeah, that's right. So hard to get good talent. I know. So, you pay all this money and then they don't show. It's pretty disappointing.
Absolutely. So let's go back to the diving side. You talked about doing a course,
Mm,
and that was a scuba diving course, was that? So tell us a
yeah.
little bit about what's involved in that.
Yeah. So that's the first course is open water. So it's not a pleasant experience. Like I think some people do it overseas and I think it's a bit better, but here in WA, the water isn't that great and the visibility isn't that great either. So I think I did mine in around February. So it was warm, but that obviously means that there's sometimes algae and the particles in the water get quite thick. So it minimizes your visibility. So that in itself can be a bit freaky. But first of all, what you do is you start off with the theory, and the theory is all about what can happen when things go wrong. So immediately you're like, what am I doing? I'm signing myself up for this. And immediately I'm like, no, I'm out. I don't want to know what happens if I get a mask squeeze or if I go up too quick or things like that. But of course, they need to do all the safety theory before you get in the water, and things can obviously happen. But yeah, so you do your theory first, and then you go into the pool. And in the pool, you do some kind of like water skills, like you've got to swim a certain amount. I can't remember how long. You've got to do all your mask skills where you've got to fill up your mask with water and then clear it, because that can happen underwater. And you can't just go up to the surface and pop your mask back on and then go back down again. So you've got to be able to clear it while you're under. And that was the part that freaked me out the most, I'll be honest. What else did we do? I think, yeah, lots of different pool skills that you had to do, duck diving, things like that. And then once you've done that, you then go into the pool again, and that's where you actually put on your full kit and, your dive tank, your BC, all that sort of stuff. And then you actually physically go under the water and you do different skills again around clearing your mask, learning how to breathe from someone else's oki, so that if you do run out of air, you know what to do. Lots of those kind of things as well. So I just felt like my brain was always thinking. But anyway, and then the next day you go out into the open water, which you do down at Rockingham Rec Trail is where I did mine. I think a lot of people will do theirs there too. And there's like all these different things that they've sunk: boats, planes, tires, cages, all out there. And you follow a little rope around the trail. It's quite big. And then one of the boats is sunk at 18 meters. And so you learn, obviously, and then you do the same skills in the open water, and then you obviously follow the trail and stuff like that. And then you do another, I did another open water dive day, and that's where you do go down to your 18-meter depth, which is as far as you can go on open water. And then I think we also had to lead the dive as well back to shore. So that's
Bit of underwater
navigationally.
navigation.
Yeah, don't go deeper. So yeah, all of that, then you get your open water certificate. So yeah, it's quite full on, and I just remember it being very, very draining. And again, you've got all these different variables, like I can't see my instructor because the visibility is quite low, or, even your brain, like what's going through your mind, and the things that you tell yourself as you're going through this is you've really got to have that positive mindset as well. So, yeah, lots to contend with, but I'm certainly very proud that I was able to get signed off the second time, giving it a go so that I could, yeah, get underwater. And then I ended up doing my advanced. So, sucker for punishment, I decided I'd come back and do some more courses. And the reason for that is I wanted to be able to dive overseas. And when you dive overseas, you can dive a little bit deeper, but also night diving, and also what's called nitrox. So nitrox is like a different air mix, for very simple terms. It just allows you to dive at a lower depth than what normal air does in a tank. So yeah, so I did that course as well.
For my listeners, if they want to know about all those depth things and nitrox and all that sort of
Yeah,
thing, and even what a BC is, I guess, then
yeah,
I
yes,
guess you need to do the
yes.
course.
Yeah, that's right. So, and you will, and I didn't know any of those terms before I started as well. I think I remember saying to my partner at the time, "Do I just press a button to go down and a button to go up?" He's like, "Oh yeah, kinda." But of course, yeah, that's what your BC is for. You inflate it with air, and that would make you go up, or you deflate it, and then you go down. So there is kind of like a button, but it is all about, yeah, filling it up with air, or taking the air out, so you do go down as well. So yeah, yeah, that's right.
So you did the open water ticket and then the advanced ticket, and that allowed you to go pretty much anywhere you want to go and dive. All right. So
Yeah,
that's the
yeah,
first part of the equation, isn't it? When you're
yeah,
talking underwater photography.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's not many dives that are deep. And of course, as you go deeper, I'm not sure if you're aware, colors actually go because the light doesn't reach down. So red is actually the first color to go when you are going down in depth, which makes photography even harder. So then you have to look at how do I introduce light back in so that it will reflect those colors as they are accurate as well. So the deepest dive I did overseas was 40 meters, and that was in the Philippines as well. And the reason why we went that deep was there was a pygmy seahorse, which are the cutest little critters, and they are very, very small, about this big, living on some coral. And yeah, got to take a photo of that, which was pretty cool. But mostly it's about just being able to night dive, so you can do some night diving, which is super fun.
And being an audio podcast, about this big is
Oh, yeah,
about a couple of
sorry.
centimeters.
Yeah, yeah, sorry. I'm talking visually. Yeah, so about the size of your thumbnail. Crazy. Yeah, and they vary, but pygmy obviously means, yeah, very, very small. So, yeah.
And then you talked earlier about your photography gear, which is
Mm.
you picked a relatively simple option. Is that right?
Yeah. So, look, there are so many different models and cameras out there, as you would know as well, being in that industry. But the thing is what's hard about shooting underwater is you can't just change your lens underwater. So a lot of people who probably get better results than me do use interchangeable lens where they can, change the focus as well. I don't do that. I use a very simple Olympus TG4. It's actually an older model now, probably needs a little bit of updating. And that means I can do macro, which is really, really tiny objects, or wide, which means then I can also try and capture big whale sharks or things like that at the same time. So I can just flick a switch and it will allow me to change the mode. But of course, in that means that if I'm taking wide photos, I need to be mindful that it's not going to capture the same quality that it would if I had a lens that kind of did that with its sole focus as that. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I've chosen.
But the benefit of a camera like that is that you can
Yep.
basically sling it on your wrist and it's not
Yeah.
very big, so it doesn't drag in
No.
the water or anything like that.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
when you want it, you just bring it up, click the
Yep.
buttons, or move a
Yeah.
switch or something. You're
Yep.
underwater, and it's
Yeah.
all happening.
Yeah.
Compared to putting it inside a case where your remote buttons and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. So I do have underwater casing so that I can go a bit deeper with it. But yeah, if you have like a bigger camera, then you have like a dome surrounding it, and then of course buoyancy. So you need to attach some sort of floating buoyancy on the camera, otherwise like you're dragged down. So that's the other thing to consider, is even the weight of that, carrying that around. So I think it's hilarious though, like again, when people do have these beautiful big domes and they're ready to take the big shot, and I've just found something really small down here and I've taken a photo of that and I'm like, woohoo! And they're like, oh, I won't be able to get that. So, and that's the flexibility I kind of wanted, was I'd be taking the little shots of the little, seahorses, and then I'd be like, oh, cool, something big. I'd get the photo too. Not saying that either of them are amazing, but it was kind of funny in that flexibility. I was able to do both at the same time in a dive, whereas someone else who chooses a more complicated setup would have to choose what kind of photography are they going to do in that dive, what is mostly here at this site, and what's the best lens to choose in this moment. Yeah. And then of course light. So you will have like strobes, and they go off as you take the photo. And so where you position those strobes as well makes a lot of difference in how the light actually hits the object. But what can complicate that is the particles in the water causes backscatter. So you can take this amazing photo, great lighting, and then you get it, you're like, oh my gosh, I've just picked up all this backscatter, and that's all you can see is all these little white bits all over your photo. So, and that can happen even on a TG4 too. So it's just the fun of it, right? And yeah, it can get really complicated.
It sounds like being light and nimble has a lot of advantages. But the backscatter that you're talking about is a bit like taking a photo on land in very misty conditions and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
using the flash and all of the mist lights up.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and then I think what happens there is the fish will then move. So you're like, oh, stay still. So then I have to try again. And so, yeah, you're constantly having to adjust yourself and your position, and almost try and predict what you think the fish is going to do next, so you can make sure you're in the right position to actually get the shot that you want from that particular thing. So I actually use a strobe. I didn't at first. I used a torch and just had my torch as just the spotlight and had it on all the time. And I got good results, particularly when I was taking macro, so the really tiny critters in the ocean. But yeah, sometimes I found the strobe just added that extra light that you kind of need sometimes under the water. So yeah. And so add all of that, and then you need to be looking at your buoyancy. So where am I sitting in terms of the bottom of the coral or bottom of the sand or rock or wherever I'm placed, and breathing, because your breathing actually changes where you sit in the water and your bubbles, and then your air consumption, and then what's happening around you, and where's your buddy. So there's a lot going on as you are actually just taking a photo of a particular subject. Yeah, so you've got to be really aware of your surroundings, aware of where you are, aware of how long you're into the dive, how long you've got left, and then also take the photo and not get caught up in it. So, sounds fun? Anyone
Get the
keen?
photo, get the photo first time and make sure you're not
Yeah.
over time.
Yeah, oh man, look, there's been times, and I think I told you this story before, where I was in Thailand and we had done quite a deep dive, that one. I think we'd gone down to 30 meters, and right at the end, we're just about to do our safety stop, and our safety stop is where you have to spend 5 minutes at 5 meters, and that just allows the nitrogen bubbles to kind of catch up, so to speak, and let your body just adjust. And we were just about to do our safety stop, and we saw this turtle, and I was like, oh, there's a turtle. So I was like, I'm chasing you. And then of course the turtle started going down to 10 meters and I'm going down with it. And then I kind of looked at my air gauge and I was like, oh, I'm running out of air. So got the photo and then quickly went back to my buddy, actually my dive guide. And I said to my dive guide, oh, you can't see this, but I tapped my face, which is the signal for I need your air. So he gave me his Oki. Now, I'm not telling you to do this at home, folks, because that's not good practice. But obviously, if something does go wrong, you've got safety protocols. But yeah, it was kind of worth it.
Not living in the regular environment of people. And yeah, if you haven't got all of those bits and pieces happening, having air in your cylinder and all those sorts of
Yeah, in your
things,
tank. Yeah.
yeah, you've got to, there are no second chances, really.
No, that's right. Yeah. So you do have to be very vigilant about it all. I would say that divers that are photographers are probably one of the safest and calmest divers because if you're not calm, you're going to scare the fish away and you're not going to get any photos at all. So it's really about approaching slowly, calmly, breathing calmly, and then you don't consume your air as much and also you don't scare off the fish. So you get your photo. So and also because you're taking a photo and you're literally just hovering horizontally in the water with nothing holding you up, you have to have good buoyancy. And a good buoyancy is where you're not adjusting the air in your BC that you wear. You do that by breathing in and out in a very calm manner so that it just keeps you at that same level as you're taking the photo. So yeah, yeah.
Because
So
everything is moving. The water's moving. You're
yeah,
in the water. You don't have anything solid to hang on
yes.
to. Like you're hanging on to a camera, but
No.
it's not a
Yeah. It's not solid either.
it's not fixed in space. No.
No. And there could be currents as well that can move you and push you and yeah, lots of things can happen with that as well. I do have what's called a tickle stick.
Pickle stick.
So this is like a long steel pole. So it's like maybe 30 centimeters in length and it's very thin. It's actually got measurements on the side of it as well. And it's got like a little handle that you can wrap around your hand with it as well. And I often use that just to kind of steady myself against a rock. So you just gently place it against a rock, and then that sometimes can give you a bit of steadiness to hold you there while you are taking a photo. So yeah, it can be a bit like all the hands. I need a third hand somewhere as I'm holding this tickle stick against a cliff or a rock or the sand or a pole or something underwater and taking a photo with the right hand. So it's like I need that third hand that can help me move and adjust. So yeah, again, it's just like all these variables happen when you're taking a photo. Yeah, and you got to be careful where you put things as well. Like you don't want to damage any coral or anything while you're there as well. So you like the tickle stick?
No concept of a tickle stick like that.
Yeah,
You would actually have one to start with, but
yeah,
also that it's pretty much simple. It's an extension of you to
yes,
actually,
steady.
yeah,
Yeah,
touch something that
yeah,
is not
yeah.
moving so that you can have something not moving to
That's
help you
right.
stabilize.
And I mean, some photographers will use like we wear gloves sometimes. They'll use their fingers, and sometimes people don't use gloves at all. But there's fish underwater that are poisonous and toxic. So like rockfish is really quite common here in WA. And rockfish are literally what they say. They look like rocks, and you can't tell that they're there, but you will tell if you put your finger on them. So they'll let you know. And they're actually poisonous. So you've got to be very careful around rockfish. Yeah, and fish can bite as well, and lots of those things. So that's why I find the tickle stick. I mean, I don't even know if that's the term, but I call it that. It kind of yeah, absolutely. Just pop it in there.
It sounds like perfect terminology.
Well, it is because, like, if you go again overseas, we don't have many of them here, although we have a few, but like a sea anemone, which is the, how do I describe this for audio? So it's like where the clownfish live. Everyone kind of knows what the clownfish live. It's like that moving kind of coral. And sometimes when there's like little glass shrimp that hide in there, they're very hard to see, but if you just put your tickle stick through it, a little shrimp will appear and then you're like, oh, there you are. And then take a little photo of him. I think I have actually got a photo of a glass shrimp on my Instagram page. So if you're wondering what that is,
Probably
um,
have to include a link to that then.
yeah, people are like tickle sticks and clownfish. Oh my gosh. Thought we were talking about photography. But anyway.
Well, we are. This is all the things that make the photography possible.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. I just found that it works for me, and quite a few people use them. Also, it's really good for tapping on your tank because when you're underwater, you can't talk. Although I do try. You'd be like, look at me," and there'll be something that you want the person to see, like, "Ah, look, it's a whale shark," or something. Like, "Come over here." Yeah, so that's another thing that you can use it for.
The whole sound thing is different underwater as well, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So a lot of people think that the ocean is quiet. It's actually so noisy. You can hear fish make noises, fish eating. You can hear crayfish doing their little clicks. Yeah, and then of course your bubbles are quite loud. And yeah, and because your ears are blocked, everything is kind of internalized. You know, when you've got blocked ears, and you're like, I feel like that's in my head. It's the same. So it can be quite a noisy place. And of course, because you've got something in your mouth to helping you breathe, you can't actually talk to anyone. But I still try and manage it and then take a swallow of water sometimes. But then you have signals that you have to each other that kind of says, but trying to get someone's attention if they're taking your photo, that can also, it's why sometimes you bang on something or, yeah, try and get their attention to be like, oi, don't take a photo of that, take a photo of this. It's better.
Turn around. We've got the big one here.
Turn around, look, you're missing the shark that's behind you. Shouldn't talk about sharks, should I?
Have you
Yeah.
had experiences with big, nasty?
Not big, nasty ones, but I definitely have seen sharks underwater and they are incredible. Absolutely incredible. They're probably the ones that I think that, look, they're not going to do any damage, but every shark is, it's still an animal. It's still I shouldn't say animal, but it's still, we're in their world, right? So you respect it and you keep a good distance from them and let all that sort of stuff. But I've seen Port Jackson sharks. They're quite common up here in Rockingham and Coburn. I've seen reef sharks overseas. I've seen nurse sharks, grey nurse sharks. Yeah, that's probably the most common ones that I've seen. Yeah, and they're cool. I have not seen a great white or a tiger shark or any of those kind of sharks. And I'm not sure how I'd feel about that either, but I do generally make decisions about where I dive so that I can avoid being their food.
Brings up a question for me. Like, there are people who know all of this stuff because of their experience with going and diving in their local area. They know their area. So how does it
Mm.
work with like diving trips and things like that?
Well, I guess same thing really. You would do some research to find out what is there. I mean, you will find that there's a lot of divers that actually will want to dive with those kind of sharks, and you can do that. For instance, if you want to see tiger sharks, Fiji is a great destination for that. And then there's actually, I think there's a cage that you can do in South Australia that will let you go under and see great whites and things like that. So I think at the end of the day, every time you get in the ocean, it's going to be a risk that something can show up that's unexpected. But generally, you would do some research, and you also are part of a dive community. So you part of Facebook groups and that kind of thing that would kind of say, "Hey, this is happening," or "Watch out for here," or and you kind of get to know your sites, your dive sites, particularly here in Australia. But same overseas as well when you're doing your research. And every time you do a dive, you have a dive guide. Well, when I do, I should say, I will always go with a dive guide because they know the area, they know the site, they know where all the fish and, all the little critters live. So they'll point it out to you. They kind of just, they're watching out, and they will tell you what the current's like, what kind of dive it'll be, what conditions to expect, how to enter safely, how to exit safely, all those kind of things as well. So I would only ever dive overseas with a dive guide, or here if I've never done the dive before. But I'm happy to go out here because I've done them many times with just a dive buddy. But that would probably tell you if there's going to be, a shark there that, yeah, at your own risk.
So there's a real community around how you keep yourself safe, really, in that environment, but
Yeah.
also how you find what you want to see too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So a few years ago, actually, we had some hammerhead sharks appear off near Rockingham. Point Perim, and they had never appeared before, and they regularly appear now. And then, yeah, straight away on the dive community, someone posted a video of these hammerhead sharks, and then everyone's out like, oh, cool. And yeah, we all go out and see if we can find the hammerhead sharks, and then, post back or say, this is where we found them, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, so there is that kind of community that kind of helps as well. And same as like even seedy, sorry, um, not seedy, weedy sea dragons. I'm getting all my words confused. And that I have not seen one of those yet. That's still on my list. But
Your
yeah, people are
list.
like, oh yeah, it's on my long list. Yeah, and they're like, oh, I saw one. Oh, cool. Where? And then off they go. And oh, yeah, I still haven't seen one yet. They're pretty tricky to see. But yeah, so that's kind of how it works. Yeah. So I think the dive community is very respectful of the ocean and of sharks particularly, and sharks are just needed as part of the ecosystem. It keeps our oceans healthy. So we're all pretty passionate about not culling them, about respecting them. And so, yeah, you find that we all kind of have that viewpoint. It's very unusual for anyone to think differently about that.
That
Yeah,
probably extends right through I'll call it the food chain.
yeah. Yeah, it does. Everything is needed under the water, and I think this was the biggest thing that I kind of was captured by, is that it's such a beautiful system that it's all needed, like even when, say, a seal dies, for instance, right? It sits on the surface, and then the shark is the one that breaks it down and eats it to get rid of it. They're the garbage eaters of the ocean, is another term. And and we need that, right? So it's just so intricate how it all kind of fits together, and it's a beautiful thing to watch, you know, them make their homes and live in their homes and gather food to live and breed, and oh, it's just really cool. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. So
Yeah.
let's think about the meaning. So, what does it mean to you, your family, or the community that you're able to take underwater photos?
I think it probably goes hand in hand with what I've just said. I think the first thing is just being able to show people who may not have the opportunity to get underwater what it looks like. They say that, we know more about space than we do about the ocean, which is just so interesting to me. And so I think that awareness then breeds into, well, our actions have consequences. So the a thing that comes to mind for me is there's a jetty up north called Ammo Jetty, is how it's commonly called, and lots of fishermen will fish off that jetty, and what they do has impact on what happens underneath. So if you cut the wire and leave your hooks just to leave in the ocean, that can cause damage to fish. I remember this one dive where there was this big net with sinkers, and they just cut it and left it under, and there was all this fish caught inside this net and couldn't get out. I just remember I was so heartbroken, but it was too heavy for me to actually pull out and too big by myself and my buddy. And so we kind of just put something on the dive community page and we said, hey, this is what's there. I think I used my knife because I carry a knife on me when I dive and cut some of it. But then, yeah, a couple of guys that afternoon said, yeah, we'll go down and we'll grab it and, yeah, freed all these fish and that kind of thing. So I think the biggest thing or what brings me meaning is what we do on the surface actually has impact to the ocean and has serious impact. And if we don't have a blue world, is how I would call it, a good, healthy ocean, we actually lose the green part of our land. And so the two are connected. And so things like recycling and choosing, reusable items actually does matter because of what I see under the ocean. And I want to protect that. I want to protect that so much because they're so vulnerable. They can't choose a different world for themselves. They just have to learn to work with it. Again, there's been some moments for me, like I went and saw these beautiful whale sharks in the Philippines, and they actually feed them there. And again, some people will have different viewpoints on whether we should or we shouldn't, but they have for many, many years. And now the government has stepped in to put some regulations around it, which is wise. But even doing that, and you just see the mountains of rubbish on the surface, and then you see this whale shark just take this big gulp to swallow the krill as he does, and then all this rubbish just comes with it into his stomach. And then we kind of wonder, why our ocean isn't surviving or why they're not surviving. And it's because they're not supposed to be swallowing plastic or rubbish, right? So
They're
I
not
think that
built for
makes
it.
me sad. No, that's right. It makes me sad at the same time. But then I also think the more that I can talk about this and take photos and be passionate about their world, the more people can recognize, hey, maybe I can choose a different action for just this one little thing and it matters. Yeah, so that's kind of why I do it, but I also just do it for the love of it, right? Just it's a hobby. I get a great amount of pleasure from taking a photo and then seeing how it turns out and then getting frustrated and then having to go back and take a different photo and try again. Especially of seahorses, they're tricky little buggers. They don't like light. So as soon as you shine a light in their face, they'll turn away. And so you're constantly trying to, chase the front of themselves under this water. So yeah, just lots of those little moments. It's just absolutely fun. So yeah, it's yeah, a special hobby of mine. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's why.
And if somebody else wanted to go and take underwater photos, is there anything more than what you've already said that you might say to somebody about how they
Um,
would go and do it?
yeah, look, I take photos with a tank. Some people do free diving. So free diving is where you just use weights and you free dive down the ocean, and that sometimes can get different results as well. So that's another avenue that people can explore. But I think more than anything, it's just, yeah, experiencing it and then just giving it a go, and then you learn as you go. Like the photos that I took at first are not the same photos that I take now. And yeah, I think if you're interested, I think the first step is just get a cheap camera and go from there and then upgrade as you go. And then there's lots of support out there. There's courses that you can actually do with experienced photographers who are divers, and they can teach you all different aspects to it. There's some great books that I've read. There's pages that you can join on social media that also will give you some support or guidance or what to do or try this or change this setting or be inspired. So yeah, I think that people are very excited about it when they're involved in it. I imagine it's the same for other photographers and different ways of doing it. Is that yeah, there's places you can go to improve your craft. But I think more than anything, you've just got to take photos and do more of it and practice and keep doing it to get better at it. Yeah. Yeah.
Certainly on the photo side, taking the photos and having a look at what you've taken and think about what you might do next time. That's
Yeah.
a real, like an improvement cycle that can improve what you have taken very, very
Mm.
quickly. certainly
Mm,
to take you from a beginner level up to at least an
mm.
intermediate level of taking photos.
Yeah, I think composition is probably a big thing, and I imagine that you think this through a lot as well, like your rule of thirds, your horizontal versus your vertical, like how much of the back do I want in this and where do I put my focus and things like that. I think learning some of that is really helpful as well. I come from a bit of a design background, so that helps me then position the object in a way that I think will capture a really great angle or shot. And I've done lots of things like even like looking up into the surface and getting fish from that side as you're looking up and you have the the water kind of glistening and the sun rays coming down. That's another little angle I've tried. Or even close up of eyes. That's another little thing that I've tried, like trying to get really close or close up of octopus tentacles and even that in itself, the suction on that, that's so cool. And so lots of things that you can do, not just take a picture of an octopus. So I think sometimes thinking through, what kind of picture do I want and how will I compose this in a way that will show that. I think I know that you would resonate with that. And same thing, I think understanding some of that also will help your photos come out a lot better.
Dive in and have a go, and
Yes,
and then
literally.
just look at what you've got and go, wow, that's not what I expected. And how do I make it different? How do I make it better?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. What could I do different? Or yeah, or sometimes you just get a little bored as well. You're like, oh, I've done this shot for so long. What could I do different that would? So it's a creative process, I think. Yeah. How can I show this in a different way?
Exactly.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
diving courses, you can just get online and search for them. They run all around the place,
yeah,
don't they?
yeah. There's quite a few dive operators. The one that I went with, which I'm sure they'd love a plug, is Oceana Dive in Mandurah. They're great. They're really brilliant, and they are also they're going to kill me for not knowing this. Um, so there's like different, like Paddy, for instance, is quite common.
Known as a name in that area. Yep.
Yeah, so they do a different provider, which is a non-for-profit. So they're fantastic, and they let me just take my time because obviously I was a stress ball and needed some extra love and support. So they were great with me and yeah, and big advocates for me as well. Like when I got my 200th dive, they were like, "Oh my gosh, like I remember when you couldn't even dive." Like it was yeah, a good celebration for me and for them, I think. Glad we got rid of her. She's too much. But yeah, there's lots of different dive courses. And you can do it overseas, right? You could go overseas, but you're just not going to know the provider as much either. So lots of people go to Bali to do their dive course. So that can happen. Yeah.
Yep. So it's not like not a difficult thing to find and go
No, no,
and engage
definitely
in.
not.
Yeah,
No, that's right. So, yeah, and I think if you did it overseas, especially tropical diving is like so warm and the visibility is better. So that might be a little bit easier for people as well. Whereas, I did it hard over here in Rockingham. But I think that it's made me a better diver because I've dived in some pretty, yeah, hard conditions. So you've got to rely on your senses a lot more. So yeah, yeah. So lots of different dive courses. And then of course photography courses. You could jump on Facebook and probably Google it. There's lots of different people who would offer it. Different, yeah, day course, weekend course, go somewhere and dive. And overseas will do the same thing as well. Yeah.
absolutely. I just joined a group on Facebook down here in Bunbury, Click Photography or something like that. And they run courses on a routine basis. And clearly they're part of a bigger network of courses that get run for photography, specifically for photography.
Yeah. Well, that's right, because you can do a photography course, which I think would still help. And then you could do a dive course, which would help, some of those other variables underwater.
Well, thank you very much, Natalie. That's been fascinating,
Pleasure.
and it's certainly your enthusiasm for underwater photography shows through, which is great to see. Thank you.
Pleasure. Yep. Thanks for having me.
And all Forest.chat listeners wish you the best for your future endeavours.
Yes. May I still see a weedy sand dragon, like that's still on my list. So please help me.
Any idea of the whereabouts of those critters? Natalie wants to
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Let me know. I know where they are, but every time I've gone out there, they've not been there. They hide in the seaweed. Yeah, too tricky.
You've been listening to Forest.chat, where we talk about individual endeavour in Western Australia, what it takes, what it means, and how you do it. I'm your host, Paul Vandermeer, and in this episode we've been talking with Natalie Mullen about underwater photography. Remember, there are 4 ways to get involved with Forest.chat. Share the domain Forest.chat with your friends and family and people you meet. When you sign up for their emails, you get advance notice of the episodes. If you want to listen to episodes, go to forest.chat/episodes. If you do something interesting or other people might find interesting, book an interview at forest.chat/interview. If you want to support a small business, go to forest.chat/advert. I'm looking forward to joining you with our next guest. Until then, enjoy making it happen.